Hey there, folks. Before we get started on our journey through ancient Egypt, I'd like to ask you for a small favor. If you enjoy learning about history and mysteries, go ahead and follow our channel so you don't miss out on this video or any of the ones we've got coming up. And don't forget to support us by subscribing, liking and leaving a comment. It really helps us out, you know. Egypt's strangest discoveries that scare scientists, mysteries still unsolved. The ancient Egyptians were one of the most remarkable civilizations when it came to art, architecture and science. They were so far ahead of their time that modern historians still struggle to understand where all their knowledge came from. Even today, countless discoveries from ancient Egypt remain unexplained, and in this video you'll see some of the strangest ones. But first, don't forget to hit subscribe and turn on the bell so you never miss a notification from us. Besides the achievements we already mentioned, the ancient Egyptians were also masters of art and craftsmanship. A perfect example is the 27 statues of the war goddess Sekhmet, the lion-headed deity. These were found at the temple of Amenhotep III on the west bank of Luxor. Each statue is carved from tough black granite, a material that's notoriously hard to work with, which suggests it was chosen for a specific reason. Most of the statues stand over 6 feet tall, though a few smaller ones show the goddess seated on a throne, holding the Ankh, the Egyptian symbol of life, in her left hand. The temple itself is massive, nearly 4 million square feet, which is about the size of 65 American football fields. Archaeologists believe a huge earthquake destroyed most of it about 3,200 years ago. Excavations are still underway, so there's a good chance that more statues or artifacts will be uncovered. You probably wouldn't expect to find early Christian symbols among ancient Egyptian ruins. But in September 2020, archaeologists made a surprising discovery in the ancient city of Oxyrhynchus. Inside what's believed to be the tomb of a 6th century writer or artist, they found what might be the oldest surviving image of Jesus Christ. The painting is very faded, but thanks to a thin layer of fabric that protected it from the sun, some details are still visible. It shows a young man with curly hair, raising his hands as if giving a blessing. If experts can confirm the tomb dates back to the 6th century, this artwork would belong to the early days of Christianity in Egypt's Coptic period. The wall it was found on is covered in ancient writings that haven't been translated yet. If researchers managed to decode the inscriptions, they could confirm the painting's origin. The tomb itself is in bad shape. Only the main chamber and a few crumbling steps remain. So the fact that the painting survived at all is pretty miraculous. You know, we all keep backups for important things, maybe a spare wallet, a backup phone, or even an extra tire. But what about a backup head? That might sound a bit bizarre, but honestly, it's actually one theory behind the strange discovery of carved human heads in many ancient Egyptian tombs. These heads are just incredibly lifelike, almost exact replicas of the person who passed away. See, the ancient Egyptians believed in life after death, but if someone lost their head or suffered a serious injury, they'd need a spare to be resurrected properly. So far, archaeologists have found about 30 of these so-called reserve heads, with the oldest one dating all the way back to the reign of Pharaoh Sneferu around 2613 BCE. Each one has its own unique facial features, neatly trimmed hair, and many are still painted with bright red pigment. What's really unusual is that these heads were buried deep underground, not above ground like most other statues. While it's still just a theory, the idea of a backup head is the best explanation we've got right now. Did the ancient Egyptians understand electricity? The short answer is no, but that hasn't stopped folks from speculating, especially when it comes to the carvings in the Temple of Hathor at Dendera. In this hidden underground chamber, there's a relief that some people call the Dendera light because, well, it looks a bit like giant light bulbs with wires and filaments. To conspiracy theorists, this is proof that the Egyptians had advanced technology. But most Egyptologists believe these carvings just show snakes coming out of lotus flowers, a pretty common symbol in Egyptian mythology. Still, what makes this carving so curious is that this exact layout of snakes and lotus flowers, well, it doesn't appear in any other ancient Egyptian artwork we know of. One of the strangest ancient Egyptian finds isn't even in Egypt anymore. It's on display at the National Museum of Antiquities in Leiden, Netherlands, where it's been since 1982. It's a 10-foot-long mummified crocodile. But here's the twist. Inside it are the preserved remains of 47 baby crocodiles that no one knew were there until 2016, when modern three-dimensional imaging revealed them. And even more surprisingly, there's also a smaller adult crocodile inside the big one. This unique mummy, over 2,500 years old, was likely an offering to Sobek, the Egyptian god, with the body of a man and the head of a crocodile. What the ancient Egyptians hoped to gain from Sobek through this offering is still a mystery, but they clearly put a lot of effort into it. Nabta Playa in southern Egypt is one of the harshest places on earth. Extremely dry and hot, with almost no life. But thousands of years ago, it was a very different story. Back then, the area had lakes and grasslands and was home to early settlers who built an ancient stone circle. If you think Stonehenge is impressive, wait till you hear about this. Nabta Playa is older and possibly even more complex. Built over 7,500 years ago, this site is considered one of the oldest known astronomical observatories. Its main purpose was to mark the summer solstice, but the stones also mirror the night sky. Some researchers believe 3 stones represent Orion's belt, and others represent the full Orion constellation as it looked thousands of years ago. Nothing excites Egyptologists more than discovering a pharaoh or queen we never knew existed. While it doesn't happen often anymore, it still happens. One such case was the tomb of Queen Khentkaus III, discovered in late 2014. Before that, historians had no idea this queen ever existed. Her tomb, found at Abuza and estimated to be 4,500 years old, was located inside a royal complex. Experts think she may have been either the wife or mother of Pharaoh Neferefre. This would place her during the time when Egypt's first pyramids were being built. Still one of history's biggest mysteries. Discoveries like hers bring us a little closer to understanding Egypt's ancient past. Now, if there's one artifact that changed everything, it's the Rosetta Stone. Not only is it one of the most important Egyptian discoveries ever, it's also a turning point in the entire field of archaeology. The inscriptions on it finally helped us understand ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs. It was created by order of King Ptolemy V in 196 BCE and included a royal decree written in 3 scripts, hieroglyphic, Demotic, and Greek, so everyone could read it. By the time the stone was rediscovered in 1799, scholars already knew ancient Greek, so they used that to decode the hieroglyphs. Today, the priceless Rosetta Stone sits in the British Museum, though there's a growing movement demanding its return to Egypt. If you've loved someone your whole life, it's only natural to want to be buried with them. And the ancient Egyptians may have taken that idea a step further. In 2019, archaeologists in the Konar tomb uncovered a 5,000-year-old limestone coffin containing 2 mummies buried one on top of the other. The coffin was incredibly narrow, less than 2 meters long and just 60 centimeters wide. Sadly, the bodies were in such bad shape that we may never know who they were. But many believe they were romantically involved. Other burials have included stacked mummies, but each had its own coffin. This was the first time 2 people were buried together in such a tight space. Maybe it was just to save room, but probably not. Another rare find came in 2013 in the Akhetaten cemetery, where archaeologists uncovered 2 skeletons wearing copper alloy toe rings. It was the first and only time such rings have been found in an ancient Egyptian burial. Experts believe they were worn in life, not added after death, but were still not sure if they were jewellery or had magical meaning. One of the men was around 40 years old and had suffered severe injuries to his legs and feet. Maybe people back then thought the rings had healing powers, but the other skeleton showed no injuries. Until more burials with similar rings are found, we won't fully understand their purpose. And finally, if you were a sorcerer in ancient Egypt, you'd probably carry something like the Handbook of Ritual Power. This 1,300-year-old book, written in Coptic, took years for researchers in Australia to digitize and translate. They finally finished in late 2014. The book includes all kinds of spells and rituals for love, success, healing, and even cursing someone by hammering nails into their doorframe. At the time, Egypt was mostly Christian, and the text often mentions Jesus. It also refers to Seth, described as the living Christ and the third son of Adam and Eve, suggesting the manuscript may have belonged to a secret Christian sect devoted to Seth. Finally, thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this journey, please follow the channel and keep an eye out for future videos. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and leave a comment. We really